Hey everyone, welcome to The Outlet. I'm your host Kayla Lewinnie, and I'm so glad that you guys are here with me today. I feel like we're gonna talk about a topic that is gonna leave people a little bit shocked because I'm bringing it to the table. We're talking about it. Let's talk about it. Like I like to say, let's talk about it. So, church hurt. Boom, it's out there. That's the topic. Church hurt. Boom, whatever. Now, what about church hurt? I want to talk about what it is, what church hurt is. I want to address it, you know, because it does happen. And then also, like, just help people understand, you know, it's not okay. Church hurt is not okay. To experience that, it's not okay. Because we're called to do different, so it's not okay. But that there is a healing process from it, and there is a better way, and God is still good. all the time. He's even better. God is still good, okay? But first, I want to start off by defining what church hurt is. And I think this article that I read by Erica Campbell was a really good article, and I think she did a great job of defining what church hurt is. She basically said that church hurt occurs when you've been a victim of a total abuse of power in church. And ways that this can be seen would be like manipulation, dishonesty, sexual harassment, blaming of the people for their problems, gossip, false accusations, absence of leaders, ignorance of leaders. Anything that falls under the category will definitely be something that qualifies as church hurt. Now, this abuse of power could be from anything from sexual assault to psychological manipulation. And in her article, she talks about how, like, people need to come to church with an understanding of their voice and their place in, or need to understand their place as a follower of Christ. What is your calling? You know, what God says in the Bible, what he says that we are and what we are to do. One of the things that God says all the time is love your neighbors as yourself. So in order to be able to love our neighbors, we also need to learn to love ourselves. But I feel like that topic in itself isn't even talked about enough in church, and I feel like that aspect of the verse kind of sheds light on mental health just a little bit, because it's just like, no, you need to make sure that you're okay enough, that you are good, so that you can bear good fruit to others, that your fruit that you give to others are of good essence because you took the time to work on it yourself, if that makes sense. How can I pour from an empty cup? So no, I need to focus on me. Doesn't mean I neglect others. Focus on me for a little bit, and then when I'm able and I'm capable of, you know, giving good fruit to others, then I can then, you know, participate and influence others in a very good, positive light. I definitely feel like as time comes or goes more and more, we start to realize the things that the church is maybe doing wrong, that we can do better. I definitely think we can learn to articulate and show the love of Christ better, most definitely. I think that is the number one thing that we fail at doing, is showing the love of Christ. God is love. So if you're not connected to the source of love, which is God, then you are not capable of giving love, because you have not been connected to the greater source, which is God. Now, I feel like we also have to address the very fact that we do have a higher expectations for Christians, because it says in the Bible, like, we need to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We are called to do several things. We're called to accept people. We're called to have open arms. We're called to forgive. We're called to do all kinds of things, and yet we only do the opposite. When we see someone who is not like us, or who does not share the same faith, instantly we feel as though there needs to be some kind of battle or some kind of revenge, some kind of, like, you need to have, like, malice or malicious intent towards that person. There's no need. We need to learn to accept others as they are. It is very, very important that we learn that, because Christ does it. He didn't go to people who were perfect in the Bible. He went to the how can I say this in, like, he went to the thoughts of their time, and was calling them and was preaching to them and was healing them. He went to the broken people. He went to the poor people. He went to the sick people. He went to the possessed people. He did not go to perfect people. So the very fact that as Christians, we think, or we have like this false notion that we're perfectly fine, there ain't nothing wrong with us. No, we need to wipe that clean out of our mind immediately. We are not perfect. If anything, there is actually, no one is good. There's only one good person, that is God. Everybody else, even in the purest form, our love is flawed. Our intents are flawed. Anything we do is flawed because we are sinful in nature. So therefore, we are not perfect, and we should not be in any position to judge anyone, because at the end of the day, sin is sin. God looks at every sin the same. So to even have the human mind to think that we are better than anyone is actually insane to me, because in God's eyes, he's just like, okay, you're a liar and he's a murderer, but y'all the same in my book. Y'all both sinners. And he forgives and loves each and every single one of us all the same. So who are we, to judge and lift a tongue on his children, and it's not to say that we accept or that we modify our views so that we can be accepted by non-Christians or non-believers, but we just have to learn that show love. That is what is going to bring them to Christ, not you condemning them and like being so on them. No, like that's really not going to call them to Christianity. For sure ain't gonna call me to Christianity. Sure ain't gonna call me to be a follower of Christ. That's for sure. I had to take the time out of my own life to redefine my definition, my relationship with God, because the one that I was being offered for me just was like, nah, I'm so sorry, I'm good off that. If this is what it is, I don't want it, unfortunately. And I feel like everybody goes through that stage in their life where they're just like, okay, no, I'm gonna redefine my definition, or not really my definition, because it's not really your definition. I'm just going to redefine my relationship with God. It's going to be authentic. It's going to be real. It's going to be the real thing. Some questions here that I wrote that we can keep in mind is, why do we seem to be failing at showing the love of Christ? What is it that we're not doing that is causing people to not really hate the church, but to not want to come? What are we doing? That's a constant question that we need to always ask ourselves. What can we do as Christ followers to make wiser decisions so we do not hurt people? Some things that I keep in mind as a person who had to heal from my own experiences of church hurt. I had to understand that we are all human, and all humans are full of sin. So, which means that they're not perfect. Which means that they need forgiving. Which means that they need grace. Which means that they need patience. So it allowed me to see it in a different line of light. Like, I had to literally step everyone down in my mind. Like, yeah, no, we're all here. We are all the same. Because if you don't know who you are, who you are in God as well, this can cause a lot of confusion as well too, because it'll have you chasing things that is not for you, if that makes sense. I definitely think it is important that you become educated on who you are, educate yourself, and read your own Bible as well too, because do not be spoon-fed anything. That comes with anything in life. Do not be spoon-fed. Always chase knowledge on your own. Always chase wisdom on your own. Like, chase it, to go find that information on your own. Do not just let someone be the one to tell you it. Make sure that, if you line up with that person, that is fine, but make sure that is information that you went out and sought after to get. And that is very much like when it comes to your relationship with Christ. Make sure this is something that you look for in the Bible. You go and you are on your knees and you are praying and you are asking God and you are communicating with him and you are doing all this, that, and the third to make sure that you're connected to him. Make sure you're doing that, with him, that you have your personal relationship. Do not live through your pastor's relationship with Christ. Do not live through your leader's relationship with Christ. Live with your relationship. Live through your relationship with Christ, if that makes sense. And also understanding that communication is flawed. So I know a lot of leaders and pastors have really good intentions when they're preaching and they want us to, pick the right side, but the communication is flawed because we are sinners. So we have to understand that we have to look beyond what is being said and sift through and just take what is true and understand that they are speaking from a place that is kind of flawed, if that makes sense. Though it does, I promise you, it doesn't make it right, but this helps us understand that communication and intentions get lost somewhere in the air. And we also have to understand too that everyone receives information different. The way that I receive information and the way that my friends receive information are two different things. I have lens that have been tainted with my own trauma, my own experiences, my own wounds. So when I receive information, it's different than how someone else may receive information, especially if I'm one to not really trust people. So I'm, like, I don't know if I'm making sense, but the way that I view the world is through my tainted lens, and not everyone's lens are tainted the same way. And even if we have similar experiences, we express it in different ways, or it affects us in different ways. And that's in itself another topic for another day. But I definitely think that we need to do better as the body of Christ. We have to learn to understand unbelievers and understand how it can even be possible, because we weren't even perfect. We weren't walking down this path this whole time of perfect faith. We were definitely stumbling like a few months ago. So for us to even be to even put ourselves on a pedestal makes no sense to me at all. And to even feel comfortable to open our tongue and lay words of malicious intent or malicious words on people is beyond me. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, that's something that I've just never was with anyways. I don't like talking bad about people. Anything that have said it to someone's face directly. No, you need to learn to accept people and be patient with people and forgive and not judge. And you don't know that person's struggles and or problems. No. And I mean this 110%. I truly think that faith and psychology go together in ways that are very much unexplainable. We look up to our leaders in our church. We are vulnerable. We are so vulnerable to our leaders, to our pastors, because we trust them. We put this heavy trust that not that they're perfect, but they are chosen by God to lead. So in our eyes, it's like, nah, they can do no wrong. And it's like, at the end of the day, we have to humble ourselves and humble our minds too, to understand that no, they are just as human as me, and they make mistakes. And that's what makes it beautiful, is that we all make mistakes and that we're learning this together. No one's perfect, and to execute God's love is, even if you don't have a similar view as somebody, doesn't mean that you have to not talk to them, doesn't mean that you have to exchange mean eyes, doesn't mean that you have to exchange words of just aggressiveness and just words. No, call me crazy, maybe I'm thinking about this a little bit too much, but it just, for me, it just never sat right with my spirit to just, you gotta love everyone and be nice to everyone. You never know too what that is teaching you. That's a whole nother topic. You don't even know what that is teaching you, to be able to express and show love to someone that you don't personally agree with. What is that teaching you? Everything ties in together for the good of those who love him. No, seriously. And when that trust is broken, it hurts deep. And this is why church hurt drives people away, because we have to understand that when you trust somebody and in your mind you have kind of associated them to you kind of almost put them on the same pedestal as Christ, though we know none of us are Christ, and that's what makes it beautiful, is that none of us are Christ. So we need Christ. None of us can do anything without him. We are nothing without him. Nothing. Absolutely nothing but a dust in the wind. Okay, because guess what, when we pass away and we go on the ground, what do we return to? Dust. We are nothing. So for you to even have such, let's cut it out. Let's show love. Let's extend a hand of grace. Let's extend a hand of love. Let's be what Christ called us to be. Let's end this church hurt here and there. How can we end it? Changing our mindset, making sure that we understand we are humans. We are not perfect. I am not perfect than my unbeliever sister. I am not perfect than other people on media. I'm not perfect than other celebrities. We are right there. I'm not perfect. I mess up too. They just like they mess up. And what blows my mind too is that the unbelievers are the most moralistic, morally correct, or morally good people. They are good people, but yet we struggle to be good. It's just a mess. A mess, okay? A mess. But we definitely need to understand that, that our leaders are not perfect. We do trust blindly, and we think in our head that our leaders are perfect, and we have to kill that idea immediately. Definitely need to understand the feelings of the other people, of unbelievers. They feel unworthy, they're confused, they have kind of questions about their faith, etc., etc. But understanding them, being there for them, comforting them, not being a rod of judgment. It doesn't mean to tolerate behavior or it doesn't mean that you have to tolerate their behaviors. It just means that you have to accept them and love them because they are children of God. They are a child of God too. So at the bare minimum, respect. At the bare minimum, love. And we're called to do that anyways. So I hope I was able to define church hurt. Church hurt is anything that is abusive of power. And it's crazy. These things do happen in church. A church, just because it's a church or the building, doesn't mean that it's a perfect place. It is not. It's very much just as sinful as the world. Even if they're not doing greater sins like murder and of these things, all these other crazy sins, but sin is sin. Like I said earlier, sin is sin. So it's still a sinful place, very much a sinful place. The only difference is that God's grace, God's mercy, God's love is there and present in church, and we gather together as a body of Christ to motivate each other, to be there for one another. Okay, like that's what a church is supposed to be, and the church is the people, not the building. So a church can very much be sick. The body of Christ can definitely be sick, sick with things that it doesn't have to be, like, once again, it doesn't have to be these grandeurs, sins like murdering and all these other crazy things. But even if envy is something that is flowing through the body of Christ, it is still sickly. It is still not good. So I definitely do pray every single day that no one experiences any big church hurt that causes them to run away or completely abandon their faith. It is not an easy thing. It's not an easy topic. It's not something that everyone is like yay about. I do pray about it every single day. But I hope that I was able to help you guys understand what church hurt is. In the next video, I'll just talk about some ways to forgive and heal from that. But thank you guys for stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Don't forget to follow The Outlet Talk on Instagram. Don't forget to follow my Instagram at KXRRenee. And I'll see you guys next video. Bye.